trying to sort of be creative as to how to go about managing my company. We're a small company. I've got a couple project managers, a couple field superintendents. But one of the things that I do is I've waived a lot of liability off of myself and the business by subcontracting everything. Even the miscellaneous labor that we have, these guys have their own companies. And they just invoice. They have their own WSIB. If they don't have it, I deduct it. They have their own insurances. And one of the other things that we do for our clients is we do an open book policy. So my numbers are my clients' numbers. They get to see we charge a management fee on every dollar that gets basically brought in. Every dollar that gets spent, a management fee gets allocated. And the client has an opportunity to see everything. My numbers, my books, or their numbers, their books. They'll see the sub-trade quotes. We'll get 3 drywall quotes. We'll have a preliminary budget that we're going to try and stick to as per the square footage and the unit rates of what the build is about. And so then we can tell them the pros, the cons to each of them. And it works. The one thing that I actually struggle probably the most with is the sticker shock. So you're not going to go to Loblaws and buy blueberries per se, and they're selling for $1.99, but right beside it, it says Loblaws is making $1.90. Would you buy the blueberries? I wouldn't buy the blueberries because you know they're making a fortune on it. So I have to be very creative with the sales position that I'm in now because I have to bring the client past the sticker shock. And the reason I have the Renovator Contractor up here is I'm not trying to do a plug. They're in the back left-hand corner, by the way. I joined them in 2013, and they're a huge benefit for my business. They have a design center within their facility. They offer coaching monthly or weekly, depending on how you want to set yourself up. They do LEED certification programs, performance guarantees. It is something that is definitely helping my business. But eventually, we have to get into the flipping aspect. So these are some of the houses that I've done. I think 1 or 2 are clients, but in mine, the color gray. I don't know what it is. In the last year and a half, every single job we've done, the exterior of the house is gray. I don't know why, for flips, for clients, for whatever it is. So this one was a full knockdown. Second one, we really got to work on this. This one was basically, we just call it lipstick on a pig. Turn them over. This one was another knockdown. And there's again, it falls down to being creative with what it is that we want. We know we try and push our clients into trying to use our creativity, but at the end of the day, it's their choice. If they don't want to spend the money on it, they don't have to. But if we're building the houses, we're using our own resources, it's your creativity, it's your design. You can do whatever you want. I mean, finding these houses is a huge thing, and we're going to go through a bunch of these items, and then there's a bunch of them, so we're going to go probably pretty quick depending on this remote. Here, this one, again, you got to look at sort of what the potential buyer is going to want. This is a bay window, put in a front door, popped out all the load-bearing walls on the main floor, opened it right up, and of course, guess what color it is? It's gray. So, as mentioned, we have a lot of resources. We've got contracts set up. We've got good quality sub-trades. Some aren't so good. And we have to use these to our advantages. It's a great way to build your portfolio to showcase for potential clients. If a client is sitting here and you're in some downtime and you're doing a flip, bring your client through your flip. They don't need to know that it's yourself who's doing it, you're financing it. I mean, you don't have to lie per se, but don't have to tell them the truth either. Put your sign up. You can create more business that way by having your signs up on your own properties. We're the building experts. We don't have to hire anybody in order to achieve what we want to achieve. We do this for a living, and this is something that comes easy for us. Should. Wish it always did, but it doesn't. And it's funny, you look at bankers, every banker wants to be a contractor. I don't know why, they think it's easy. They're like, yeah, I can go and make as much money as you, but guess what we all want to be? We all want to be bankers, don't we? They all make the money, I don't understand it. Keep yourself busy when you are slow with potential clients. Knowing that sub-trades are not always up to snuff, by flipping and doing your own houses, you have an opportunity to weed out the bad trades and not at your client's expense. So if your kitchen guy just does an MIA and he disappears, I mean, you can bring in another guy that you've always wanted to try, and you don't have to be there 2 years later listening to your client because the hinges are falling off. You've already sold the house and you've moved on because it was a flip. So you can weed out a lot of trades. Good trades they're worth their weight in gold, and we all know that. There's a lot of things to consider, and these are also items that we're going to go through. But time is basically a real huge ticket item. You have to be able to know that you can pull your resources out from your current job positions and your current client data lists and be able to allocate them over to a house flip. So you don't necessarily want to overextend yourself. You have to consider what your family time is. You're now going home every day, as we do, but you're now working for yourself. So you're lining up the trades, you're pushing a construction schedule, you're making sure you've got the funds, you've got to go through your banking, you're going to be going to the house to clean it yourself 9 times out of 10 because you're going to save money that way. There's a lot of risks involved. There's a ton of risks involved. People don't line up to sell their house 50% below market value. It requires considerable time and cash flow. The economy is in a very unpredictable moment right now, and we honestly don't know where it's going to go. When I did my first house, I don't know what it was, 10, 12 years ago, I was nervous because I thought the economy was going to tank. Well, it was 12 years ago. And now I still buy these houses on a regular basis, and I'm scared beyond belief that I'm going to get stuck with this house. Huge risks to have. Interest rates can change. When the interest rates do change, everything else is going to change around it. Where are we going here? You want to make sure that you cover your assets. You don't want to finance your house with your retirement money. Holding costs can chip away. Holding costs are huge. It's kind of a hidden number that, it's not always taken into consideration. I currently have a house right now that's listed. It's been listed for 90 days, and that's where the $7,000 a month comes from, because that's how much it's costing me to carry this house. I thought I'd get a little creative. I tried something different on this house. The garage is sort of taking up the main floor. It's a downtown Toronto Victorian house. It's a semi, nothing crazy. But this layout doesn't work for everybody. I took a quarter. I gambled on it. 90 days. Guys, we can't have houses sitting on the market for 90 days. This isn't a hobby. I've got to make money, get in, get out, and do it as quickly as I can. $7,000 a month adds up really fast. I mean, those are huge numbers. I didn't allocate that, so now my profit margins are going down. Why? Because I made this decision on what I wanted to do for this layout. This is a funny picture. I don't like this lady. So some of the other risks, I'm just going to open all these up and then talk about them. Urban forestry, ravine conservation, heritage designation, zoning, and your GFA. GFAs are your gross floor areas. Urban forestry, so when we're looking at properties to buy, you have to be very wise and look at your footprint. So there was a property, I don't know, 6 months ago that I was looking to purchase, and I wanted it. I was going after it quite aggressively. And there was a big tree in the back, and I knew I wanted to bring this house back in order to maximize the square footage, to maximize the resale value of the house, and for all the reasons together, the tree had to go. I went down to the city, and I spoke to my guy behind the counter, and he says, "Oh, urban forestry's here." I said, "Great, can I speak to him?" So the guy comes out, and we start talking. We go over the property a little bit, and he says, "Oh, that's Judy." I said, "I'm sorry, what?" He says, "Judy." I said, "Who the hell is Judy?" He goes, "That's the tree." I go, "You named the tree Judy?" He says, "Son, I know every wrinkle in her and every ring in her body, and over my dead body are you taking that tree down?" So I'm thinking, how can I get rid of this guy? I can get rid of him so I can get that tree out. But what ends up happening is trees will supersede us. Trees are everything, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're going to be sitting on a property fighting the city to try and get rid of a single tree because of the build you want to do. Just don't buy the property. It's that simple. Ravine conservation, when you end up getting your survey, and there's a nice big gray shadow that goes right across the survey, you know that ravine conservation has a huge chunk of that land, and there's gonna be restrictions on you. Don't try and put yourself in that position. Heritage designation, if you're buying like a nice old Victorian house in or outside of any city, you'll be in your permitting process, and Heritage will say, you know what, let me just look at that for a second. And then they're gonna notify you and say, yeah, these windows that you want, they have to be full wood, inside out, triple glazed. That brick that you wanna do, that nice big bay window opening for, we wanna count every single brick, store it in a climate controlled atmosphere, shrink wrap it, and label every single brick on it, and we'll give it back to you when we feel it's right. Your roofing, they'll go, yeah, that shingle roof you want, now it's slate. So guess what your numbers just did? They just went through the roof. And if you've bought this property already, you need to know that, you know, those will kill your margins at the end. Zoning, GFA, your gross floor area. Basically, if you have a lot size 100 by 100, you're allowed certain percentages on the property. If you want to exceed those percentages, there is channels and protocol that you have to go through. So the Committee of Adjustment, we have it here, the Ontario Municipal Board. So if you want, you know, they'll say you can have a 3,000 square foot house. You do all the numbers and you say, I need a 4,000 square foot house. Well, now you're gonna go to Committee of Adjustment. If a neighbor doesn't want you to have that 4,000 square foot house, they're gonna push you to the Municipality Board. This could potentially take up to a year while you're doing what? You're carrying the property. So these are all big things and big risks that come into place. We've got skyrocketing prices that are coming in. Construction costs are higher. Average miscellaneous labor now in Toronto is 35 bucks an hour. These costs are huge. You have to know where, before you buy, we should have many things in place. You want your financing in place, not only to purchase the house, but to also cover your holding costs and your construction costs and your soft costs. You have to have a realistic budget. You have to put a schedule in place that's going to work for exactly what it is you want to do. And a key thing on this listing is a listing date on which you plan to put the house back on the market. If you're buying this house, you know that there's a permitting process that has to take place. That permitting process can either go quick, never goes quick. It'll go slow, if anything, and push you back. And you need to know that when this house is going to go back up on the market, you don't want to go in November, December. You don't want to go in August or September. And you certainly don't want to go in January or February. So what are you left with? 6 months of the year that you can actually bring this house on the market in its top value dollar when all the flowers are blooming and everything. So it's a massive thing to take into consideration when you're doing this. You have to know that if you're finishing your house, you don't want it to come out in December. Nobody wants to buy a house in December. And if you don't put it in December, what are you going to do? You're going to hold it for 3 months, which also costs money. Know your role in construction. This basically just refers to accounting. When we're running our own companies and we have staff members and we have to basically also take on this second burden, you don't want to overextend yourself, let some things go. There's other things that you certainly don't want to delegate. Visiting the properties prior to purchase. I don't know why it says don't send your wife. Basically, you got to go on your own. Having an agent to sit there and tell you that the property is great, and you just, I mean, if you guys have enough money to throw around that you can do that, more power to you. But I go to the properties. We're the only guys that are going to know when you walk into a foundation and we smell, or into a basement, and you can smell the moisture content. You know the foundation's kind of rotting. These things are happening. We're the only ones. No one's going to be able to tell you this information. Make sure you assemble a team of experts well before you're putting in a purchase price. We're the contractors. You've got to make sure you've got your sub-trades in place. Financing, lending, appraisers, have your accountant, your tax experts, designers and architects. You want to make sure you've got everybody. These houses don't sit on the market. A good house will be gone overnight. And you got to make sure that you're fully prepared and you have everybody in place. Real estate, home inspector, lawyer, all these people should be on your side already well before you go in. You've got to be at the start line to get the right buy. And if you don't get the right buy, you're not making money at the end of this thing. Get your hands on some cash. Cash is king. Banks don't typically finance for construction costs these days, so you got to be a little bit creative as to how you're going to go about it. You could borrow against the equity in your home. It's one option. If your mortgages aren't too, you haven't overextended yourself, you can use your house as leverage. Hook up with a private lender. Lenders right now, they're going out at, well, in the Toronto area, probably 8%, 9%, plus a fee. There's always a fee involved on that. Ask a family member or friends. No, don't ask a family member or friends. If you want to just keep them as family or keep them as friends, don't ask them for money. That shouldn't even be in there. And secure your financing through a VTB. So you guys know what a VTB is? Vendor take back? Okay, so if an existing seller called them, they're selling a house for $1 million, you know that you can come up with $750,000. You can get the homeowner to roll back a vendor take back, which means they still own a titled position on the property for $250,000, and you don't need the $1 million to close. So, and it's something that your lawyer and your accountant can do, but if the homeowner is cash heavy and they don't need the money, your real estate agent can work out a deal to get them to maintain some principal on it and use that money as leverage. And in essence, you can work out a deal, average VTBs 4 or 5% interest, and you do it for 1 year. And just pray that you get rid of that house in a year, because otherwise you got to work around that. When you're buying on the properties, a lot of things to consider. Always buy low. There's lots of houses on the market. Don't take it personally. If you're sitting across and outside with your agent and the guy that you don't like in the neighborhood who's your competition is sitting across from you, watch him lose money. Don't take it personally. Make sure you always buy the house low. Margins are typically greater on new builds than renovations, and don't pay for somebody else's renovation. This is the worst thing you could do. The more decrepit the house, the better. This is what you want. You want the crazy cat lady that's out there. You want to make sure, and go knock on her door if you have to. Don't even use your agent. If you see property that's all diminished and the landscaping is all rotted, go knock on her door and say, would you be interested in selling your house? You're going to save a ton of money that way. And the worst thing you could do is, buy a house that somebody's redone their tile. They're going to sell this house for $500,000. Their cousin went in and did a hack tile job, and now they're selling it for $575,000. You're just going to smash that bathroom apart anyways. So if there's a dead body in there, take it, buy it quick, buy 2 if you can. Don't worry about it, because this is what we do best, guys. We construct. Find the right agent for the right price. Agents are key, and as us as contractors, if this is something that you guys want to take on, we are dream clients for real estate agents. You should never be paying full commission on these guys. Right now, 4.5% is the new 5. Typically, an agent has 2.5%. Your agent, when you buy the house, he's going to make 2.5%. Your agent, when he sells your house, should be making, I give my guys 1%. I'm not the nicest guy in the world, but it's my money, and I'm not just going to piss it away for these guys. We take all the risk. We raise the money, we finance it, we manage the construction, we do the design, and then an agent goes in and sends a photographer and makes $35,000. No, one of the other things you can do is partner up with your significant other and get them to do it and save that money for yourself and keep it amongst your family. Find an agent who's not afraid to lowball any offers. There's, some agents, they all have liaisons within one another, and if this house is listed at $500 and you want it for $350, and he says, oh, I'm going to offend him, this isn't about friends, this is about making money, and that's what we have to do to get in and get out. You're a repeat customer with your agent. Another key thing is finding an agent that is experienced with flipping and zoning and the costs of construction. So my agent would never just call me because he sees a house. He does his own calculations, he figures it out, and he knows what the GFA is, what the zoning criteria is. He knows that if there's a tree in the way, he's not going to call me. These are the kinds of agents that you want working with you or for you, to not waste any of your time. You want to make sure that you've got all your partnership agreements in place. If you're partnering up with somebody, have a letter of intent. You don't need your partner coming to you on the day of closing and going, okay, I want my $70,000 management fee. And you're going to go, well, we don't have that. We don't have that money. So make sure you have it. Reviewing all of your title searches. Every lawyer is going to charge you $1,200 to do a title search. Do it yourself. Do a double check on it. There was a property that I was going to purchase a couple of years ago, and there was a $60,000 lien on the property that my lawyer missed. If I had closed and got title on that, I would have taken over that $60,000 lien. Not a great way to start a project, that's for sure. Eliminate all personal liabilities, throw something into a numbered company, 123 Canada Inc. It's a great way to go. If there's any hazards, anything that happens on the job site, you don't necessarily want it coming after you. The difficulty to that is that if you're going for your mortgage with 123 Construction, it shows no merit. So you have to know that, well, your lawyer or your accountant would figure that out for you.